What's up, Star Wars nerds, and welcome to another episode of Brett on Fett. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Dark Trooper from the Credit Collection, with a bonus look at the Bo-Katan from the Credit Collection. And then we're going to have another edition of Random Figure Spotlight. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 39 of Brett on Fett. And before we move on to our main topics of the episode, I did want to quickly acknowledge just a few things from the exciting announcements that came out of the recent MCM London Comic-Con. Most notably, I want to just touch on some of the Vintage Collection announcements, starting with the speederbike and scouttrooper set for the Vintage Collection. I'm very happy with this reveal. I like the packaging. I love that they included a carded version of the figure. It would have been nice to get a carded version sold separately and have the box set just come with a loose figure so I could get both and not have to buy two sets. But that's a very minor thing, and to be honest, I never expected them to do that. So if they're going to just have one release of that new Scout Trooper with the speeder bike, the way to go was the carded figure. So very happy with that. It looks great. The speeder bike especially looks great. It's not a completely all new tooled Scout Trooper figure, but at least the helmet is new and looks good. And I'm just very excited. I'm glad it comes with a stand. I really couldn't be happier with this release. And then the next reveal I wanted to touch on was the pazvizsla from The Mandalorian for Vintage Collection. We knew this was coming. I knew this would be in a deluxe box. It's just not possible to put this on a standard card and bubble with all the accessories he comes with. He's just too big of a figure, too big of a gun, so I get it. So I wasn't disappointed because I was already expecting that. But it's an all-new figure, and it looks good. At first, when I was looking at it, I thought maybe the armor seemed a bit too small. I didn't think the figure was quite bulky enough. But looking at more photos and on, I don't really think that's an issue. And I know several people who attended the Comic-Con and saw the figure in person, and they were all raving about the figure, how good it looks. So I'm sure I am not going to be disappointed when I get that guy in hand. And maybe the most exciting announcement for me personally was that we finally got a pipeline reveal for a Cad Bane figure. If you've been following with my channel for a while, you may know that I'm a huge Cad Bane fan.
Whatever Fett is paying you, we'll match. And all you've got to do is stay put and let things play out.
And I've been waiting for this day. I kind of knew deep down they were going to release Cad Bane in the Vintage Collection at some point. I was just starting to get very impatient. I'm not sure why it took so long. But finally we are getting him. He will be on a Book of Boba Fett card, so he'll be in that Book of Boba Fett style, which I'm totally fine with. And I think eventually will lead to getting another release of him, either for the Bad Batch or, my personal hope, a Clone Wars card. And so I'm just thrilled to finally get Cad Bane. So overall, I was very happy with the announcements that came out of the MCM London Comic-Con. Okay, so moving on, the Black Series a couple of years back released what they called the Credit Collection, a wave of figures from The Mandalorian based on the concept art from the credits at the end of the show. And it was a very interesting concept. It kind of took a lot of people by surprise that they produced this. It wasn't too popular. I think a lot of people liked it and were okay with that first wave. Me personally, I loved the first wave of the credit collection. I thought it looked great. I love the card back art. These are not figures that me personally would be interested in ever opening and displaying in scenes and stuff, because they are artistic renditions of these figures. But for display pieces meant on card, I love them, or at least the first wave. And we kind of thought, okay, that's going to be it. It's kind of a one and done kind of specialty wave. And a lot of people were really surprised that Hasbro released a wave 2 of the credit collection. I think this one kind of felt a little forced, and it was not near as popular in my opinion. I, for one, did not care for Wave 2 with the exception of the Mandalorian figure. I liked that one pretty well. I liked the card back and the figure okay. I did buy that one. That was the only one I bought from the second wave. I was just not feeling the rest of the figures for that second wave of credit collection. And they didn't sell very well. I would see those on the shelves quite often. In fact, I was out shopping today and saw the Armorer from that second wave full on the pegs at a GameStop today. So I didn't think that Wave 2 sold very well, so I was even more surprised when Hasbro announced a Wave 3 of the credit collection for The Mandalorian. Now with this wave, the figures are based on Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and I have to admit I did like a few of the figures revealed for this wave. So I went ahead and pre-ordered 3 of the figures, the Bo-Katan, the Darktrooper, and the Mandalorian. Well, the Bo-Katan arrived maybe about a month ago, and then the Darktrooper arrived just this morning. So I'm going to go over both. I mainly wanted to focus on the Darktrooper, but I figured while I'm at it, let's go ahead and show off that Bo-Katan and talk about it a little bit as well. So let's take a look at both figures, starting with Bo-Katan. Okay, so like I said, we're going to start with Bo-Katan, and she is not an exclusive, so you can find her at most major retailers online. And starting with the card back, it just looks great. I ordered this one initially because I love the card back. I like the interesting dark blue name pill, and the artwork is what really sold me on this one. I loved that it's an image of her flying in the sky. I thought that was pretty cool. And there's a look at the credit piece that came with it. It is some type of Republic credit. I'm not sure which kind. But looking at the figure itself, man, when I got her, I was really impressed with the paint job. This is maybe my favorite paint job in all of the credit collection figures. I think it's actually an improvement from the regular figure. It's probably not as screen accurate, but I just love the muted tones and that gold chest plate. And we'll compare her to the original figure in just a minute. But taking a look at the back, it's got that awesome artwork, the full version of it, showing Bo-Katan flying through the sky with her 2 pals. And, it's my favorite part of the credit collection figures is the artwork that is on the front and the back of the cards. Okay, so now I just want to bring in the original Black Series Bo-Katan figure just to compare the paint apps. Again, these are the same exact figures, just repainted. And so the biggest difference you see right off the back is the shade of blue. The original Bo-Katan is more of a baby blue or powder blue, I'd call it, versus the one on the credit collection is more of a grayish blue, I'd say. And I like the grayish blue better. I just think it looks better, personally. Again, maybe not as screen accurate, but I think it's pretty cool. Now the jetpack, you can't tell, but it's the same jetpack. They did not repaint it on the credit collection. It's the same one, but there you can see the chest plates, very different, and the belt is a very bright brown on the original versus a more muted dark brown, which I actually prefer the darker brown on this figure. But overall, I am very happy with this credit collection figure. I would recommend this to any Black Series fan, especially Bo-Katan fans, just to have this really cool alternate paint design and a great looking card back. Alright, time for the big boy. Here is the brand new credit collection version of the Darktrooper. I have to admit, when I ordered this, I was a little on the fence about the design and really just ordered it because I wanted a carded version of the Dark Trooper and figured this is the only carded one we will get. But I got it in this morning and I'm looking at the design of the card back and it's pretty nice. I like that deep red, almost a maroon colored name pill, and the artwork is pretty cool. You can see Grogu is just terrifying looking there, or he's terrified, but also a little bit disturbing. But it's a pretty cool image. I like how he's shown in flight. And looking at the credit itself, this is just a standard Republic credit, I believe. And looking at the figure, you can see his head and base color basically is like a gray. And then the yellows you're seeing are supposed to be like reflections of the light. And then down at the bottom of his feet, it's supposed to be kind of reflections of the flames coming out for his jets. And I love that red on the feet, by the way. That is my favorite part of this. I'm not sold on all the yellow on his body. I thought they overdid it on this one. But the feet section, the shins and feet, I love that color red. I'd almost like just an alternative Dark Trooper that's just in that red. But maybe that would be weird. But I just really like that red. Now, it may be hard to see on camera, but he does have a hint of this blue on his dome. And that's just that blue light, I guess, of the sky reflecting on him. I thought it was a pretty nice touch. And taking a look at the back, you can see you got the bigger version of that cool artwork. Now, this one's a little bit of a letdown because it's just mostly sky and the other troopers are really tiny in the background. So I think I would have preferred an alternate image for the back on this one. Now, like I did with Bo-Katan, I'm going to bring in the original Black Series version of the Dark Trooper to compare, although I admit it's a bit silly comparing the paint apps when it's very obvious what the differences are since the original is just all black. But I'm going to do it anyways, so looking at them side by side, you can see a huge difference in that base gray paint on the credit version versus the black. And then, you know, the most noticeable difference is all that yellow, of course. And I can't say I like it better. It's definitely not an improvement like I was saying for Bo-Katan, but it is an interesting alternative. So overall, I wouldn't say this figure is a hard pass, although at the same time, I can't really highly recommend it. It's not going to be for everyone. For me, the only things that really made it worth this purchase is the really cool artwork and just the fact that it's the only Dark Trooper we can get carded. And for me, the biggest downside of this figure is the overuse of the yellow paint. I think if they had gone way lighter and just put a hint of that yellow paint to get that glow effect, it would have been a much more appealing figure. Okay, so here once again are my two Wave 3 Credit Collection figures side by side. Again, I highly recommend the Bo-Katan figure. I think it's an awesome paint job, awesome artwork. But the wild paint job on the Dark Trooper makes this one so-so in my opinion. Again, maybe just worth having for the artwork and to get that figure on a card back. Alright, so now it's time for another edition of Random Figure Spotlight, which is just like it sounds. I choose a figure at random, usually from my personal collection, and usually in 3 3/4 scale. And we go over a little background for the character and take a look at the figure. And for this episode's random figure, I have chosen to spotlight. I have picked Bain Malar, the bounty hunter from the Legacy Collection. So before we look at the figure, let's talk a little bit about who Bain Malar is. Bain Malar was a bounty hunter during the Galactic Empire time period. Most of his bounty hunting days were spent working for the Empire on the spice mines of Kessel, where his job was to track down and return any inmates that tried to escape the mines. Malar was very good at his job because he held a unique ability amongst bounty hunters. He was telepathic. He not only used his telepathy to help track down escapees, but also used it to get into their heads after they were captured to instill fear in them to never try to escape again. But Malar did not exclusively work for the Empire. He would occasionally take contracts for gangsters such as Jabba the Hutt and Black Sun. One time, Malar actually took a contract for Black Sun to assassinate Jabba at his palace on Tatooine. However, when he arrived at Jabba's palace, he telepathically sensed Luke Skywalker and feared Luke's presence would not only foil the assassination attempt, but end up getting Malar killed, and so he fled. The character and costume design of Malar was actually created for the Return of the Jedi film with the original intention for him to be another skiff guard. However, the character did not make it into the film, and his backstory was later changed. On a side note, the helmet design for Skiff Guard Brock Starsher is fairly similar to Bane Malar's helmet. So I wonder if Malar was cut from the film due to looking too similar to Starsher, or perhaps Starsher's costume was actually a modified version of Malar's original costume. Alright, so let's take a look at the figure. This is the only action figure produced for the character Bane Malar. And as you can see, it is the Legacy Collection. I got that first day of issue sticker. This is from 2008, by the way. And there is an image of the character for the front of the card, looking very awesome. And there is the figure itself. The helmet is so cool. I really like that helmet. He's got the double bandoliers. And he does come with a side blaster right there. And a nice holster, like a soft plastic holster there attached to his belt, along with a little, I guess, an ammo pouch on the other side of his belt. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell, but his jumpsuit is a dark blue versus a black. It is a dark blue. And there's another look at that helmet. Very cool. Probably my favorite part about this character. Overall, cool looking figure. Taking a look at the back, you can see it's BD7 from the Legacy Collection. And you guys can pause the video here if you want to read that summary of the character on the back. And here's a look at the wave. Pretty cool wave. You got the Han, Luke, and Chewie from the deleted scene with the sandstorm from Return of the Jedi. So that's pretty cool. The rest they released on Vintage Collection. And this is a Build-A-Droid figure, and it comes with the main part for R7ZO. Very cool looking astromech droid there. So overall, very cool figure. Legacy Collection is the only way you can get this guy. And I love bounty hunter characters, and Bane Malar is no exception, so really an awesome part of my collection. So that's going to do it for this episode of Brett on Fett. Let me know in the comments what you think about the credit collection. Do you collect them? Do you not mind them? Or do you think Hasbro should have killed that line after the first wave? Thanks for watching this video. Thank you so much to my subscribers. Don't forget you can also follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. Take care, and we'll see you next time.